because we had to iron out some technical stuff. If you are new to our Modern Prairie workshops, first of all, hello and welcome and happy holiday season to everybody. Please, we will mute you, but make sure that you are muted. We would love for you to all turn your cameras on so we can see your gorgeous smiling faces on this lovely December evening. And please, if you will type in the chat where you're coming from, where you're coming to us from, not like emotionally where you're coming from, but physically where you are. I am currently in Palos Verdes, California. I've spent the day babysitting my nearly 2-year-old granddaughter, Rosemary, and I'm so tired, but I'm so excited. All right, Knoxville's in the house, Rockford, Illinois, Athens, Texas, Louisville, Edmonton, I think Alberta.
Oh,
I think
Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Nice.
Yes, it is. Nashville, Nebraska, Oroville, California. My goodness. Maryland, Boston, Southeastern PA, Pittsburgh, Eastern PA, Malta. That's the furthest reaching person we've had join us. Malta is a bit of a drive, I would say, from here. New Jersey, Dallas, Hamilton, Jupiter, Florida, Delaware, Midland, Michigan. Well, hello, Michigan. Santa Maria, California, Snohomish, Washington, Anderson, South Carolina. I know I said that wrong. Snohomish. Southeast Arizona, Rome. My goodness, Arlington.
James.
Plano, Texas, please mute your computers wherever you are. New York, Edmonton, that was right. I got it right. Good. Niagara Falls, Southern Indiana, 10 minutes from Louisville, Harrisville, New York. Oh my goodness, there are so many people. Dean Butler, you are a popular man. I have to tell you, we have a lot of workshops, but every time you come and join us for a workshop, it's an event. I would love to, if you guys can raise your hands or like just put a little heart in the chat. How many of you grew up and had a crush on Dean Butler as Almanzo Wilder on Little House on the Prairie? Just put a little heart in the chat. I'll just be casually counting all those hearts as we go. Anyway, here we are. Oh, Dean, there's like multiple, some women are putting in like 10 hearts.
Oh, I'm seeing it. I'm blown away.
Well, it shouldn't be surprising. My goodness. And here we are, this many years later.
And the reason I always say this to people, Melissa, it's because people love you so much that when the guy came along that was going to win your heart, it was an automatic winner. I'm very grateful that I'm the one, but anybody would have been loved.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to think that I added something to it, but anybody would have been loved because of you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
No, that's true. That's true.
Welcome to the Mutual Admiration Society, everybody. So we are going to have some fun today. I have to say that I know a lot of people, I love Christmas time. I do. I've always loved Christmas time. My family celebrates, although we are Jewish, we celebrate both and have my whole life. And there's just something magical about this time of year. And there's something magical about the decorations and the lights. And originally I was supposed to be at my house and I was going to do the tutorial and do my Christmas lights as Dean is walking us through his expert way of doing Christmas lights. But I got called at the last minute to come to LA for a couple of different reasons. And as I said, I've been babysitting the 18-month-old grandchild today. And so I have a blank wall behind me, but I made it festive. Anyway, I thought I loved Christmas and the holidays. I really did, until I found out how much Dean loves Christmas time and how incredibly interwoven the traditions of Christmas are in his life from his family going back generations. And I find that so incredibly moving. So we sort of were, kind of touching on maybe something we could do at some point again, because people love when we do workshops with Dean. And what did you say, Dean? You were the one. You said...
Oh, I said I'd love to do something about Christmas with you because it's just, well, I get the sense that your audience also loves Christmas because it's given that you're speaking so much to women. Women are the center of family traditions. for the most part, driving those traditions and all the things that go into making Christmas happen. And so, and I got these traditions that I'm sharing have come to me through the lives and experiences of senior women in my family. And I just loved it so much that I picked up on it. And my brother loves it. My sister loves it. My nephews love it. I mean, we are a Christmas family. Now, we're not a religiously Christmas family. We are all in the tradition side of Christmas. No, that's not true. There are members of my family who are very religious and look at Christmas in that light. I look at it in the context of tradition and year end and the colors and the smells and the family togetherness and all of that. That's what really hooks me about the holidays. So, and I had wonderful experiences with Christmas, starting with my first Christmas when I was less than a year old, 5 months old, and I shared that picture with Brittany. She can share that with your audience. This is
Wait, we get to
my
see you at 5 months, 5 months old. Please, Brittany.
5 months old. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever
It's
seen
actually probably 7 months old, and sitting with my mother and father in front of a Christmas tree that is in many ways very much like what I'm going to show you tonight. So yeah, there's that picture, and you can see behind me. So my mother there, and my father, and this Christmas tree. And Christmas trees have changed so much in the years. You know, they used to really be a bush, and it was a Douglas. These were all Douglas fir trees. My grandmother did Douglas firs, and she had big white lights on the camera on the tree and what she used to do, they used to all be colored lights, and she would take nail polish remover and strip all the dye off the lights, so she had big white lights. And when they became small white lights, of course, that's what my family has always been, a white light, small, because it reminds us, or reminded my family, of candles. And that's how my mother and her sister experienced Christmas in their early years. There were candles on the tree in the morning when they came into the living room of their parents' home. And of course, you could only do that once or twice because trees would dry out very quickly. But I heard my whole life about the beauty of this. And now this is lights. It's white lights on this tree, and you can't really see them in this black and white picture. But this is me 5 months old or 7 months old with my parents, and you can see the little Christmas tree log behind them. And I'm going to show you a version of that I made for myself in 1985.
I am.
This one, well, okay. So there's the one that I made for myself in 1985, and that is the stand, fully decorated, and I'm going to show it to you in an early stage of decoration. Now, you're not going to see it fully decorated because our grandchildren are going to be coming over next week to actually fully decorate the tree. And at 12 and at 7, they have really fallen in love with these traditions, and we want to give them the opportunity to get their hands on it. And of course, I hold my breath thinking they're going to break something or they're not going to do, it's just, I'm very anal about this. But Catherine is pushing me to let loose and allow the children to experience this the way they want to experience it. And so Grandpa sits back and they will make this what they want it to be. But so I'm going to show you a version of so we've just come back to I'm going to show you a version of this picture. Oh, and of course, the holidays for me are not the holidays without Christmas cookies. And so this is like a couple of years ago, Catherine made Christmas cookies with our grandson, Sam. And, so chocolate chip cookies and obviously shortbread cookies and yummy, yummy, yummy. This is like, one of my favorite things about Christmas. December is like a 5-pound, 6-pound month. I mean, and then
no question.
you bleed it off in January hopefully. But yeah, it's just, you can't help it. It's a big month of eating, and that's what we do.
I got to make Christmas cookies with my granddaughter last year, and it was absolute heaven. It was the first time I did it. And I made cookies with Lulabelle, who's our little modern prairie model. She models all of our quarter pint capsule
Oh,
collection.
sweet.
And she came
That's
over
sweet.
and slept over with me at my sister's house, and she and I made Christmas cookies. And it was just, it was perfection. Now this picture is the tree stand. This is
Yes. And this is the tree stand as you saw it the first time at home and family. So this was there. And this one, I did this differently. This one was set up to be Central Park in New York. So you can see the street lights. And I don't know, I don't think we can get much closer on this picture. The picture is what it is, but it's more of a park setting. Central Park in New York is the way I was thinking of it. What you're going to see close up that I'll show you when I pick up the computer event when we finish talking about lighting is very reminiscent of Little House, which is
I'm obsessed. You know I'm
the
obsessed with these.
amazing thing about this is that it's, and I'll tell you, I'll give you a little heads up about what my tree is going to look like next year for the 50th anniversary, but we'll get there. But this was the way you saw it. And then Brittany has a next picture that was sort of my invention time. So here we are. We're looking at Central Park in New York. This is in my garage. And so I've got the frozen pond there and the covered bridge and the evergreen trees and a little shed back there. And of course the street lights in New York. And this is what you saw and what you sifted flour over at home and family when we did this.
I'm obsessed. I am obsessed with these tree stands. And you have to let's just, can you describe to everyone what it is? Because and how I know we're going to go look at it up close, and you're going to take the computer over in a little bit, but describe it. Is it a hollowed out tree stump? Do you construct it around and
no, it's fully constructed, but it's covered. The face of it is covered with redwood bark. And when I made this one, I went to redwood country in Northern California and went to a sawmill. And of course, at the sawmill, before they mill the logs, they just strip all the bark off. And so, it ends up becoming shavings for people's gardens and all that. But I ended up grabbing, 20, 30 feet, board feet of this bark and bringing it home and cutting it up to attach to the stand. But it is literally manufactured and it's electrified inside, but the bark makes it look like a hollowed out log. That's the vibe of it. But it is completely made. My great grandfather made the first one of these in 1910 in San Francisco for my grandmother and her sister. And he modeled it after a stand that was done, a very elaborate stand that was done in the old City of Paris department store in Union Square in San Francisco. And it had like 10 trees growing out of it, built around it, and an electric train set up and a village and all. It was just this amazingly elaborate setup. And he was, my great grandfather was a wonderful craftsman. He built things for our family that are still in use in our family. And he created this design for my grandmother and my great aunt when they were little girls. And in 1934, it was recreated again for my mother and her sister. And in 1965, it was recreated for my brother, sister, and me. And then in 1985, I made the one that we're looking at now, the top. And what we're going to see is the traditional setup, which is the farm. What's cool about this, Melissa, is that what any Christmas tradition could be fabricated on the top of the stand. And then underneath it could also be anything. What I do it as is a Santa's workshop.
Oh,
And
that's
that's sort of a fun thing. And there is a picture of Santa's workshop. Let's see what number. No, so that's a wide shot of our living room, from our dining room into our living room when our house is all decorated for Christmas. Let's advance the Brittany. Let's advance.
that's
So there's
beautiful.
another shot of it there, and then let's keep coming closer. There. So there's the top. Two different shots of the top of the tree, of the top of the stand. And that, as you look at that, very reminiscent or evocative of the little house experience. And it's all redwood. And when the one I grew up with, there was nothing inside the house. It was just blank, but I electrified it and put a floor in it, and we're not close enough to see it, but there is furniture and a house. So it's sort of dressed for Christmas on the inside of the little house there. And it's, so this is done. It's really sort of very practical. Underneath the flower, and I'll show you when we get there, it's kitty litter. We used to do it with sand, but kitty litter is lighter and it's easier to get your hands on. And any grocery store has it. And so you contour the ground and put the house and the barn, and the fences and the trees and the rocks and all the little animals. And you really can't see everything that's there, but you can see some detail. And then the one I'm going to show you, the people and the animals and stuff are not in. So this is the inside of Santa's workshop.
Oh, it's so charming.
So, yeah. And so you can see there are mugs on the table for Dean, Catherine, and Peggy, who was my grandmother, who was Margaret, and she was known as Peggy. And my grandmother was probably, next to my own mother, the most influential woman in my early growing up years. And so, all traditions related to Christmas go back to her. And so her name is on the little white mug there. And so it's Catherine and me and my grandmother, Peggy. And these things that are in here, notice on the top, there's a cat on the rafter. And it's not there in this particular picture, but we have a mouse that goes up on the rafter. So the cat and the mouse are facing off on the top of the rafter there, squaring off for dominance in Santa's workshop. And this Santa Claus is really fun. This Santa Claus was sent to me by a fan. I don't remember if you remember, Will Schreiner had a talk show. So, I mean, maybe you did Will's show at some point, but we had a daily, an afternoon talk show. And I took this on it when it was first made, and I didn't really have a great Santa Claus. And they shot the inside of it. It looked amazing when they shot the inside of it for television. And someone who watched the show saw that I didn't have a great Santa Claus and sent me this Santa Claus, which is a spectacular Santa Claus. And I had it's sort of canvas, it's oilcloth and wonderful face. And I had this duplicated in India last year. I sent pictures of it and they 3D printed it. So I can get as many of this as I want, 3D printing it, and it just turned out beautifully. And then of course these other things that are there. The beautiful thing about this tradition, Melissa, is that we've collected these things over the years. So family sends them to me. I find them in miniature stores. I've made approximately 20 of these for family members and friends. Maybe it's not quite that, maybe 15, 16 of them, something like that. And so you collect things and everyone shares this stuff. And it becomes part of the wonderful holiday tradition. And what's cool is, anyone can make it anything they want it to be, which is great.
How long does it take you to make one, the base?
It's about 2 weeks. It's probably 2 weeks. It's probably 2 weeks. But if you're, look, if I'm going round, if I'm working 8-hour days on it, maybe it's half that time. But it's collecting all this, it's sort of front loading the process. And the big thing is to get the bark. So because the manufacturing of the house here and underneath, and all of that's very simple. It's been refined through the years with different kind of lighting and different bulbs and gels on the outside of the windows to give it this golden quality. There's a lot that's happened through the years. It's this constantly evolving thing. But so a week if I'm really pushing it, 2 weeks if I'm taking my time.
What was were there any mistakes made in the process of learning how to do this? Anything that happened that was particularly humorous, or did you learn as you go, or did you instantly know how to do this perfectly?
No, certainly not. I mean, none of it's been done. It's very crafty. You're just no two are exactly alike. So, you're making it and you're making the things fit as you go. And there's no exact scale for this either. So, it's not like 1/32nd scale or 1/24th scale or what. It's not that. It's this scale that my great grandfather did, and you just have to sort of find it and make it work. That's the sort of the big trial and error on this, is that you have to hunt around to find the things that make it work to scale. And you set it up from the back of the shop to the front of the shop, and things are larger in the back and smaller in the front. And so it's a process. Now the way you're seeing it here is the way that it has evolved for me through the years. It wasn't this way in the very beginning, and no one else in my family does it exactly like this. So everyone's got a different take on it, which is the wonderful thing about it.
It's absolutely, it's so charming and so I don't know, cozy and so creative.
Right.
And the thing that I think the thing I love most about it is is that it is a generational tradition,
Yeah,
which is what this time of year is really all about. Those are
totally.
those are the things that really matter. Okay, so let's see. What next? Where do we
I think
go?
let's talk about. I think we should. And this was supposed to be the last thing. This is our Christmas card this year. So yeah, so we're looking at, this is the Christmas card that Catherine and I shot out in front of in our front yard this year, and with our puppy dog Benny, our Cavachon, Bichon Frise, and King Charles Spaniel, and he's just turned 2 years old, and he's absolutely adorable, and we love this dog.
Oh, hi,
So
Brady. Hi, Catherine.
yeah,
That's so great.
so
My puppy
yes,
ate a roll of toilet paper
yeah.
today. I got a text from the dog sitter that the puppy ate a roll of toilet paper.
Oh my God! Wow.
Well, she's only 5 months old.
That's
She's left alone for a couple
Yeah.
hours.
Well, of course they're eating everything at 5 months old. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Part of the job description of puppy, I believe. All right, let's
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about, I want to talk about uh Christmas tree
Lighting.
light
Don't talk about
lights.
lighting.
First of all,
Yeah,
I
let's talk
want
about
to talk,
Christmas tree lighting.
your tradition is actually my aesthetic. I like big white lights.
Mm.
And
Well, I have small white lights. It's
well,
not, my grandma had big white lights, and now
right.
you can do big white lights. So
I
yeah,
liked
maybe
big
some
white lights as a child. I grew up and then I liked little white lights, like fairy lights.
Yeah,
Tim, my husband, likes big colored lights. So our
right.
compromise is small colored lights.
Oh,
So
gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
that's what we do. But
That's a surprisingly, for couples who have had different Christmas traditions, the lights that go on the tree, that can be a real problem.
yeah, that's why we
If,
compromised,
if
because we,
people
we
can't compromise on that, that's really tough because that's baked in. That's deep family culture. Are you colored lights or are you white lights? And
think at this
I
age
really,
We made a conscious decision at this age that the lights are the least of our problems. I think we can find a compromise.
Good for you. Good for you. That's very smart.
So let's
Well,
talk about lights because you can't.
you
What?
you really, I mean, you really got the guy when you and Tim got together. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I always say this to you, and I'm going to say it, and I think your audience probably has a sense of this. I mean, you really have the guy that is so in sync with who you are and your vibe and your humor, and so good. And I'm so happy for you that you have that. And
Thank you.
he's great.
Thank you. He is.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
I couldn't agree more.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
life
you
is
go.
good. Please.
Yeah.
I had to kiss a few.
So should we look at should we look at lighting now?
Yes, because you can't just throw lights on. Just
Right.
like tinsel.
No.
You can't just throw tinsel. You have to place the tinsel.
Right.
So lights
Right.
are the same. I mean, and everybody has their own way of doing it. But the way you do it is actually very similar to the way I do it. But
Okay.
I like them to have a lot of depth, right? And
Yes.
I don't necessarily want to see wires. So I'm kind of a little nuts about how I place them, but you have a whole other kind of you take it to another level. So let's talk about lights.
Well, I think it sounds like we're very much in sync in the way that we do this. So let me put this up and let me bring this over here to the tree. So the tree is unlit.
Oh, I think we lost your audio. Yeah, you muted.
Yep. Dean,
Have you
unmute
lost-
yourself. There we go.
No, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, very good. So let's go here. All right. So, everything starts with, with this. I mean, these, a small little, and I use probably, it's like 100 lights per foot, something like that on the top. And on the bottom, it's heading more towards 200, 250 lights per foot on the bottom. So, but the way I do this is, and this came to me, I mean, as a kid, we would just wrap the lights around the tree, and you had lights on the surface of the tree, and it was fine. What you do, it is what it is. You do what you do, and it's all right. But when my great aunt Allison, or actually she's not my great aunt, she's my aunt Allison, my mother's sister, she started doing this thing where she was putting the lights into the trunk. So it's this sort of insertion into the tree. So say I'm just going to step back here. If I'm putting the lights on the tree, and if you can see me here, and I'm going to go to the end of this string. If I'm starting with this, I'm taking the string and I'm pushing it in to the trunk of the tree, all the way to the trunk. And I'm just weaving the lights into the tree to get to the trunk. Everything is, so all the lights, so they're about, on this tree, there are 300 lights on this little tree, and they are woven, the lights are woven all the way in to the trunk, all the way up and down, and they feed out to the surface. And it's sort of like needlepoint with lights. So you're pushing in and bringing to the surface. So let me show you what it looks like when it's all done. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm turning that on. So now, difficult perhaps with this camera because it's not really a great camera. But what I love about this, and this is a Douglas fir tree. So this is a very tightly cut Douglas fir tree. So what I normally do on a noble fir, which is the kind of tree that I normally use. I grew up with Douglas firs. Now it's noble firs. They last longer. They don't shed as many needles. So I do this whole weaving process, and then I put silver balls inside, hanging the silver balls inside, not on the surface, they are on the surface, but they're also inside, and they pick up the light that is being generated inside the tree, and they kick it out more, and the tree takes on this kind of glow that's really, really wonderful. And then when you decorate the tree, then you're putting your shiny ornaments. You see the silver balls surface and inside, and then you are putting your shiny ornaments more on the outside of the tree, followed by the sort of the wonderful wooden ornaments, the paper ornaments, all the things that your kid. Now, I got this. You'll get a kick out of this. I got this at an event this last weekend. Well, who's that in that picture, Melissa?
Oh, gee, I don't know. Looks vaguely familiar.
Yeah. So that of course is Garth Williams, a black and white illustration of Almanzo coming to visit Laura and surprise her for Christmas. And I think this is made from the book. Someone clipped a page from the Little House book, and this is the page that they're talking about that's connected to this illustration that's inside. I thought this was very charming. I had this shipped home from Corsicana, Texas, 2 weeks ago, and it will go on the tree. It'll be the first ornament on this tree, and there it is. That would ordinarily be among the last ornaments on the tree because there will be shiny ornaments first. But my grandchildren, Catherine, our grandchildren, will do the ornaments on the tree. So I'm not doing ornaments for you. But let me show you what so you can see on the larger tree here, there are silver ornaments on the outside and on the inside, and here comes the tree.
Oh, wow.
So
gorgeous.
there are probably 800 lights on this tree. And what I love about this, and I use warm lights as opposed to cool white lights, and we've shifted primarily to LEDs now, although there are some incandescent lights on the tree. But what's cool is I don't use cool lights, I use warm lights, but warm lights, even the warm lights have different temperatures of warmth. So you can see looking at the tree, there are some white lights that are really white and others that are a softer, warmer light. And so that adds to the depth and the dimension of the tree.
Love that.
And I have lights from years back. Now, I don't advise hanging on to lights for huge, long periods of time because they can get a little dicey sitting in boxes and the wires get brittle. But I think mixing the color temperatures is really fun. And of course, with LEDs now, you can dial in the color temperature, they can blink, they can chase, they can do all kinds of things. I'm not a blinker chaser on the lights. I want solid lights. But I don't mind the idea that the lights are a different temperature. And you can see when you pan, when you're in the room and you're moving around, because of the silver balls and because there's so many lights inside the tree, they twinkle when you move around. The lights give the appearance of twinkling, and it's just lovely. Now, when the tree is fully decorated, it's just awesome. And I think that there are a few pictures, but it's best when you're in the room with it, and that's really when it's the best. And I love the look of a tree when it's done, the smell of the tree, the sort of the permeating of evergreen that goes through the house. if there's some cinnamon in the house, I mean, all of those smells, Christmas smells are magical.
Yeah.
And, I just think you can't have enough of that. There's never too much of that. It's, well, maybe there is sometimes too much, but it's really, the smells are wonderful. I just love it. So now, so are there any questions? Maybe we give people an opportunity to, as I'm seeing something about.
Before we get to questions, I want to back up for
Yeah.
half a second. I want to
Okay.
mention something because you said something, and I want, whenever I hear this or I bring it up, a lot of people kind of balk for a second. You referred to Almanzo Wilder as Almanzo, which is the proper pronunciation
Yes.
of his name. For some reason,
Yeah.
we used Almanzo, which is not correct. Almanzo was named for a friend of his father's, Almanzor, correct?
Well, it was, I think, a multi-generational, deeper back. And I don't even know if it was a family thing. I think, yeah, I think so. I think it's look, I think it's in Little Town on the Prairie is when he tells the story. And I should be able to tell you exactly what it is. And I can't, and someone who's on this call could tell us exactly the page it happened. That's just how it is. I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But it's
Almanzo.
It was during I think it was during the Crusades. Is that he's talking about the Crusades, and there was El Manzur, and how his father got to that, I just don't know, and that's not really explained.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We know it was Almanzo, and we also know that Laura was never called Beth. She was Bess, Mama Bess.
Yes, Bessie. I can just see, I can just see you lighting up over that.
I don't have no problem being told.
I think it was great that it was Beth. Laura Elizabeth.
Listen, I never questioned any decision Michael Landon made. So
of course. So
let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Someone did type in Zaldamo, just for fun. Zaldamo, Dalzamo. Wasn't that your license plate too? Zaldamo?
I had Catherine McGregor gave me a Zaldamo personalized license plate.
That's right.
And and I just loved her, and it was written, the scene was written as Dalzamo. And I think either she didn't want to do it that way. She wanted to do it as Zaldamo, which was much funnier. And she just like, you remember, I mean, she was so infectious in the way that she did everything.
Yes,
full on, pedal to the metal, nothing held back.
No,
she was all in all the time.
100%. 100%. All right, here's some questions for you. How many trees do you have in your house?
Oh, well, this year, okay, so this is interesting. This is fun. Because this is sort of unique this year. Normally, it's just we do one tree, but because we have the pupper in the house, and with the Christmas tree stand, and knowing his insatiable curiosity to sniff and bite everything, I just was having heart attacks thinking, if it's on the floor, which is where it normally is, his nose is going to be inside that Santa shop, and he's going to be chewing toys up there. And I don't know that I'd survive that. I just don't know that I would, and I don't know that he'd survive it. So anyway, so he said, and Catherine, and then we were quizzed. Catherine asked Romy and Sam, our grandchildren, if they wanted a big tree or a tabletop tree. And the answer was big tree. And I'm flipping out thinking Benny's going to eat everything on the tree stand. So on our way to Mr. Green Trees on Sunset to buy our trees, we arrived at the concept, we're just going to get 2 trees, one on the table for the stand where he can't get it, And look, if he pees on the tree by some fluky chance, okay, he pees on the tree. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he hasn't really shown any interest in it, but I was not prepared to take a chance that he was going to eat the Christmas tree stand.
I totally understand. And just for the record, today I spent the day babysitting, as I said, my 18-year-old grandchild, whose name is Rosemary, but her nickname is Romy. So we both have grandkids named Romy.
Yeah, my Romy, so she's 18 months old?
Yes.
Is that what you said? 18 months? Yeah. Well, our Romy at 7, I mean, this little girl is you at that age. She's you at that age. It is amazing. This is the most outgoing, present, fearless little girl. She'll do absolutely anything. And she is the mouth on this little girl. She's absolutely beautiful. She's just a angelic child. So anyway, so she wanted the big tree, so we have the big tree for her, and we have the little tree so that Benny doesn't eat it. So
yeah. I love it. All right, so there is a Christmas tree question here. When do you put up your tree, and when do you take it down?
So it's been an absolutely crazy month, but this is sort of the time. Usually it's like, the 8th, 10th. So we were right in there. We went out on Saturday and bought the tree and put it in the house right away. And then our tree, so it goes up 9th, 10th. The grandchildren will come over and decorate. And the tree then comes down without fail on New Year's Day. So there is none of this till the 1st of February stuff in our house. The tree is gone before the Rose Bowl begins. And that's how we do it. And we watch movies on New Year's morning and the Rose Bowl parade, and the tree comes down and the house is completely back to normal or pre-Christmas by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there are paper whites blooming. And so you get the smell of spring in the house to start the new year. And I love that. I love seeing Christmas come, and I love seeing it go away, at a reasonable time. And everything is still fresh. The tree still looks good. I can't believe I've walked by houses in our neighborhood, and the house, it looks like, a petrified forest.
Oh, wait, I have a story for you.
Some people, it's unbelievable. I don't know how people trust that like there's nothing to night.
My best friend, Sandy Peckinpah, who was related to Sam Peckinpah.
I know this name. I know that name.
The Peckinpah family were notorious drinkers. Multiple generations back. So Sam's family, they had a giant house in Northern California, like one of those big 2-story log lodges. And they had a family, the whole family came over. They had a big Christmas tree decorating party, and they had a 2-story Christmas tree in the living room. And they drilled the stand into the floor because it was wobbly. So rather than fix the stand, they drilled it into the floor and left it there until June.
With the tree in it?
With the tree, they left the tree decorated until June, until like the branches were falling off of it and things. So there you go. Man,
crazy.
Here's a tree question. The silver ornaments, the balls you use on the tree, are they regular, glass, plastic, different sizes?
Glass. Yeah, and I think they're pretty much all the same size. They're about 2.5 inches. They're sort of that size. But I think, it'd be fun to do variant sizes. We've had these silver balls for 20 years. And as they break, enough of them break, we'll replace them with something else. We've had some small ones that are made of ping pong balls and sprayed with a reflective silver paint. But I like the glass because the reflection's better.
Right, I agree.
We also have some mirror ball ones too. So it's little pieces of mirror glued to it. They don't turn, but they kick light in a really fun way.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want everyone to know that I do see your little house on the prairie questions. I'm just trying to get the Christmas tree decorating questions out of the way first. Dean, do you have a favorite ornament that's been passed down through generations?
I do. And it's not in the house yet, but I have three ornaments that were on my grandfather's tree in 1906.
I love.
And so there's a bird, and one of these bird that clips to the branch, and then there's a sailboat. Now, there's nothing fancy about it other than the fact that it was the memorable part of it and the special part of it, and it always goes in the same general section of the tree, that it was my grandfather's ornament. And my brother and sister each have a couple of ornaments from our grandparents' earliest Christmas trees, and these things are placed, in prominent spots on our trees to remember the long-term connection that we have to them and to their love of the holidays. I mean, they all love Christmas, so yeah. So those are my
Are you,
favorites, and I do have one. I do have one. Let me show you this. I do have one that I hung on the tree in case that question came up. Here's one that it's the first ornament on the tree. This is the Almanza Wilder Farm ornament. I don't know if you could see, the light may not be really good on that. Let's see. Yeah, there we go.
oh, that's
So
beautiful.
there's Almanza's red house, hand painted ornament, and I got this in 2007. So that's one of my favorite ornaments. I think that place is so charming all the time, but at the holidays with the snow and all that, it's amazing. So
Are
really
you a
good.
are you a garland? Do you put garland on your tree?
I don't. Now my sister does. She does garlands. We I think I think we've done popcorn. We have. I think we have strung. I feel like we've strung popcorn because, and I think that's really fun. I think for my sister, it becomes a tree about garlands, and you don't really even see the tree. There's so much garland on the tree that the tree is sort of like the shape, but it's about the garlands. And but that's my sister's at times over the top approach to decorating. If I were going to do garlands, it would be a very simple, a very small thing, so the tree remains the dominant thing. And I think it's just my sister also wants to do a more modern tree. I really am locked in on a very traditional approach to the tree. So I would go for smaller garland or
I
strung
had a
poplar.
I just had a flashback of my childhood. When I was little, we didn't decorate the tree ourselves until we were much older. When we were little kids, a few nights before Christmas, was tree night, and we'd have to go to sleep because the fairies would come to our house and decorate the tree while we were sleeping. And the
Nice.
fairies at our house used angel hair on the outside of the tree. So the whole tree was done lit ornaments. And then there was this sort of layer of this, I think it was fiberglass actually, but like this flossy
Right.
fairy.
And the tree glowed. The tree had to have glowed with it. I mean, that would have been
It
really
glowed
cool.
like crazy, but it also, if you brushed up against it, you'd itch for days after. Because I
Oh yeah,
legit
it was on
think
you.
it was,
Okay.
I think it
Yeah.
was spun fiberglass. Well,
This was the case with my mother and her sister. Literally, there was no sign of Christmas in the house until Christmas Eve, and or till Christmas morning, when my mother and her sister went to bed. They were up half the night transforming the house into Christmas. So it was this, literally, when the living room doors opened, the double doors opened, and my mother and her sister stepped in, it was magic. And it was completely new, and presents, tree, candles lit on the tree, the Christmas tree stand, all of that. And it all showed up on Christmas morning. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that could hook you into Christmas big time for your whole life, because that moment when
100%.
you
Actually,
see.
there's a woman named Ruth Kegel who wrote, at our house, Santa would decorate the tree Christmas Eve after we went to bed. So we'd go to bed and it would be
Awesome.
decorated. That's magic. That really is magic for kids.
Totally,
Love that.
totally. Oh my
All
God.
right.
I mean, that you can do that. Yeah.
I'm not seeing a lot more Christmas tree decorating
Well,
questions.
let me show you could I, before we go to Little House questions, and that's great that people have them. I want to show you the top of a tree.
That was a question. The next question was, what do you put on the top of your tree?
Okay, so here is.
You muted again. You're mute. Unmute yourself.
Here we go.
There you are.
Yeah.
That's better.
So, yeah. So this is the tree, or the village, or the little farm pre flower. So you're seeing the trees, the fences. So the cool thing is, I made the house, the barn, make the fences, all of that, and then you sift flour. So let me put this over here. You can see this. Good. I think that's not going to fall off. And what I do is we'll put some flour in here, and you did this on, so people can see this. So I am spooning flour into a sifter. And then you shake it, and it's snowing.
That's great.
And it puts a very soft coating of snow over the top of the scene. So I'll just show you this little bit, but and of course there are people.
Oop, I think you muted again. Yeah, you muted again.
So, yeah, so you sift the flour over the top of it, and I love that it coats the top of the fences, and the trees get flocking on them, and the roof picks up some snow and gets some weight on it. So this will get fully done when the grandchildren come over later, next week, and they will put, they'll put all the people and the animals, and there's all of this stuff that goes in the,
I think I know the answer to this question. I know the answer to this question for me, but I think, Dean, do you recommend a real tree or a plastic tree?
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally get the artificial tree, and it's maybe safer, and they're perfect, and they come out of the garage, and you take the plastic off and it's instant tree. I don't think we will. I don't see us doing an artificial tree.
Same here. We're prairie people, Dean. We're prairie people. We get
there
real.
You go. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And that's by the way, I have suggested this to Catherine, and I mean, I've suggested, like, outside our house on our picket fence, vinyl pickets. Catherine, absolutely, there's no way that's happening. They are redwood pickets. They've got to be wood, and it's got to be real tree. That is Catherine's. It's, I'm sort of practical about it, but I love doing the real tree. I mean, no question. Now, let me just show you. Here's the inside. This is empty Santa's workshop. So I will be doing that, or actually Sam and Romy will be doing it when they come over. And, this is where I'm holding my breath thinking, oh my God, they're going to break everything I've collected for 40 years. But they did it. They've done a great job with it. So I have the tree in there and the ladder, but there's always and I don't know if you can see it in the pic. I guess because you can see there's a calendar on the wall next to the workbench, and the 24th of December is always circled, and that always stays inside the stand. That never comes out, even when it goes put away. That's permanent installation in there. I guess just because the magic of Christmas Eve, and love that. So
course, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to back it up to some Little House on the Prairie questions for our last little bit of time
Okay.
here.
Sure.
Here we go.
I mean, if everyone's gotten what they need for
We do
Christmas,
have
that's great.
We have a Christmas question. How do you store all
Okay.
of these things through the year?
You know, well, everything comes off the stand, so everything goes in our garage, and we have boxes and boxes and boxes in the garage. There's nothing else that comes close to the quantity of specific content in the garage. Nothing comes close to Christmas in terms of quantity. So it's, you know, it's just in the garage, but everything does go away. It goes into boxes and it goes away. And I think that's, and there's a, it's all stored very carefully. It's put away in a very specific way so that when we come back to it the next year, we open boxes and we know what we're looking at. I mean, it's, you know, so it doesn't just get thrown in a box. It's the ornaments are packed. Every ornament is wrapped in tissue paper. Every layers of tissue paper with ornaments organized by weight. So the heaviest ornaments are on the bottom and the lighter ornaments are on the top. So nothing gets crushed. It's very obsessively organized, and it's fun that way. It's part of the joy of it. That's my take. It's part of the joy.
Yeah, well, you have to take care of them. I think. I definitely think so. So
Oh, look, I have to show. I'm sorry, I have to show you this. What is that?
Is that Olson's Mercantile?
It is Olson's Mercantile. This was a gift from Catherine and Richard one Christmas, and these coasters sit in this coffee table, and I love this, thinking about them and and what they meant, yeah, in the life of the program and just they as people. Anyway, so I'm just sharing that. Let's have Little House questions.
Let's have some Little House questions. I'm just answering one in the chat. Okay. For us, and you know, we had this scheduled for an extra long time because we weren't sure how long the decorating was going to go. So I think we should just take, because it's getting kind of late, a few Little House questions, and then we'll sign.
Sure, it works.
Right. They're so hard to choose. There's so many of them. Gosh. You know what? Why don't you guys raise your hands and we'll let you ask a question and we'll answer it. How about doing it that way?
Awesome.
If you have a Little House. Yes, Nicole.
Melissa, it's Nicole. Puchelle has their hand raised. Same with Annette. That's two of them. So why don't we start with Puchelle and then Annette?
Perfect. Sounds delightful. Puchelle, you can unmute. We'd love to see your face if you don't mind, and you can ask your question. Well, okay. Well, Puchelle's not responding. So Annette, please unmute.
Okay.
Hi, first of all, it is such a huge honor. I was watching Little House on the Prairie earlier to get, even more excited about this. My mom wasn't able to be here. I totally understand if it's a no, but is it possible to film my question so I can show the video or no?
Sure.
It's being recorded now.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but if you just want this for your mom.
Yes, please.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I see. You're giving her permission to record that. Got it.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you so much, you two. First off, my favorite, I just want to know, what is y'all's favorite episode that y'all filmed together?
Together.
Together for like your favorite episode ever.
I think the two, mine, I had a lot of fun filming the big two-parter with, the stroke and the tornado and the baby and all the drama. But I actually thought they should have named that episode instead of naming it, was it Days of Light and Shadow? Was that
Days of Sunshine, Days of
Sunshine
Shadow? Yeah.
Days of Sunshine. Yeah. They should have just called it Get Doc Baker.
I totally understand that. What about you, Mr. Butler?
Yeah, no, I love that one because that from a, just purely from a performance standpoint, that was probably as nuanced a set of challenges as I had the opportunity to play during the years, you know, and it was sort of it was fun because, you know, Almanzo was not his best self during that episode. He was a little like down on himself and bummed out and depressed and all of that. And, you know, and it was about fighting for the, you know, it was about Laura fighting for the relationship as much as anything else. And then of course, Pa, you know, takes Almanzo to look at the geranium, and the geranium solves everything. So, you know, the geranium growing, yeah, the geranium growing out of the rubble of the house, you know, it's like if the plant's going to survive, we can survive. And then that's the sort of the beginning of the comeback and the building the house and the learning to walk again and all of that. No, it was really fun. But, you know, in terms of the trajectory of the series, although that one had a big effect on the trajectory of the series, but I always think, you know, Sweet 16 is sort of the, you know, was the turning point moment in the series for Laura, because it's that episode where the pigtails go away and the dresses change and the shoes change, and Laura's a young woman suddenly, and there is this awareness that she is changing, and she changes right before his eyes. And it was that first time where, you know, where Almanzo could see her as the woman she was going to become because of the way that she was presenting herself to go teach school. And of course, I love that sequence, which is reminiscent of what happened with these happy golden years, with Almanzo taking Laura back and forth to school. And so it was a nice connection to these happy golden years. And it was that, you know, Melissa's written about that moment in her book. I've got a book coming out in June. I've done a whole chapter about that episode and the penultimate moment where the kiss took place in that episode, which was a big thing. Always unforgettable to me because of Melissa's mother, who was wailing uncontrollably off camera. And and you know, blew 4 takes because she just could not stop crying as the kiss was about to. And you know, I sort of took it like, okay, I get I'm not her favorite person.
Oh no, that's not what it was at all.
But crying that her daughter is going to be kissed by me at that moment, and maybe it was tears of like, oh, my little girl's growing up, but that's not what it sounds.
That is what it was. I'm sorry you interpreted it the other way. That's exactly what it was. She kept saying to me, "You're a woman." It's like, no, I'm not.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay, good.
15. That's the criteria. Oh boy. Listen,
yeah, this chaste little kiss was the turning point moment in your life. Yeah. I always say to, when I think about this moment, Melissa, you have rarely in your life been a fish out of water, but that moment was really a fish out of water moment for you. And you never gave that away for a second. You were there, you were present for this. I never felt any massive level of anxiety. I only learned about it later after reading your book, but you know, and it's not surprising, but you didn't give any of that away personally.
No,
you were a pro, always a pro.
Thank you. Listen, I see a young person in Megan Hoffman's square here on her computer, and I just feel like it's very important that we answer this young fella's question.
Yes, let's talk to Megan.
Please unmute. Megan, who is this handsome young man by your side?
This is my son, Zach, and we have started watching Little House together over the last couple of years after reading the books. And he's staying up extra late tonight in Rochester, New York, getting a chance to meet
Nice.
both of you. And it's an honor meeting both of you, by the way.
It really is.
Thank you.
Well,
Aw,
thank you
thanks,
for
Zach.
watching tonight.
Hi. So my question is, who are your favorite characters on the show besides yourselves? You cannot pick yourselves.
I'm a little, I don't know, I'd have to say, I'm a little partial to Nellie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a fun character to watch.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, to get to be the villains are always the best characters. Oh, so I would say, I have two. I loved watching Victor do what Victor did. Victor could make you laugh and cry and all of that in the blink of an eye. Loved him, and I loved, he used to do this thing where he would say, well, we're doing a scene now, and you say this and this and this, and then I say, and then you say,
And then you say,
this, and then
I say.
he would do, he would do that. And then beyond Victor, second to Victor, or maybe first to Victor, it was Catherine McGregor. I watching her, I learned so much watching her work, just in terms of just her bravery, her commitment, her thorough passion for what she was doing. There was nobody on our set that was more, I mean, maybe there were baby people as plugged in as she was doing what they were doing, but no one was more plugged in than Catherine. She was totally in there all the time. And she was so much fun to watch. And she loved talking about acting. Loved talking about it. It was her passion in life, was talking about acting.
Great mentor too for us kids, me and especially. She was a great mentor as far as I spent a lot of time with her in her dressing room, learning about acting, learning about process, learning about costumes, jewelry, and dressing a character. She really took me under her wing that way. And I'm very lucky because I got that from a lot of the adults when I was little. I got it from Karen too, and Catherine, and of course Michael. So I'm quite
of course.
All right, I think we should do one more question, and before we
Thank you.
well, you're welcome, sweetheart. Happy holidays. Before we
You
do one
too.
more question,
Thank you.
a lot of people have been asking if we like cinnamon chicken. And I've never tried to make cinnamon chicken. I think
I've
I'm
never had it.
terrified of cinnamon. I've never had cinnamon chicken. So I think
Never had.
I think there may be value. And you and I are going to be together in March at the 50th anniversary festival in Simi Valley for Little House on the Prairie. The weekend of March, is it the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th? Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
There may be value in us maybe figuring out a way to get together and trying to make cinnamon chicken while we're there.
I
Maybe
think
with
that
Alice.
would be awesome. Yeah,
I
think.
should
Oh, and Allison is a wonderful cook, and I don't know, I watch out. Well, you cook as well, so I mean, the two of you could make it so it doesn't kill us.
Yes, exactly.
And
I promise I won't. As long as no one puts the labels on the cinnamon, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna.
No, I think that'd be great.
Here's the last question that's in the chat.
Okay.
How did you all get through the last farewell episode? It was such a heartbreaking one to watch. And I'll just say I didn't. I feel like I was out of my body that last day. I don't feel like I was even really there. I remember it, but it was like a slow, it was like the show was in hospice almost. Like we knew it was coming. We knew the end was coming. This person shot their last scene one day. This person shot their last scene the next day. And then we all got together for that final moment the day after they'd blown everything up. And, I wrote this in my book, and I remember, when we used to get dressed in the trailers, we would all kind of just trickle down to the set one at a time. But that day, we all waited for each other, and we all walked down together, and it was gone. And I just remember, that whole day, that all, like every 5 minutes, if it wasn't a crew member that started to cry, and then I would start to cry, it'd be a cast member that would start to cry, and I just cried the whole day.
There are some wonderful pictures of you that were taken in the middle of Walnut Grove in rubble, standing by the Lars Hansen sign.
My mom took those.
Well, yeah, your mom took those pictures, and you know, she let you do the crying that day, although I'm sure she did some crying too. But
We all did.
we know. I think I think I felt pretty numb that day. It was, no one. Michael was directing. Not a word was said to anybody. It was, everyone was in the moment. It was to walk down there, as you say, as a group, and you see the smoke pots. It was all smoldering because it had been blown up the day before, and then the special effects people magnified that the next day by putting. So there was smoke rising out of all of these buildings, like they had literally just blown up, and it was really surreal. It was very surreal, and you saw your life changing right there.
And then now here we are 50 years later reconstructing it.
I know.
The flats of you guys.
I think I sent you the picture of the bank facade that was installed on Saturday. We did our first installation, and the others will be coming in March they're all being painted now. I think people, when these things are there in that space on Big Sky Movie Ranch where they were, and they've been geolocated, so they are exactly where they were. Yeah. I think people who go on that tour are going to be absolutely blown away. Now, look, they are not.
There's so much more.
Exactly the size. I'm sorry.
There's so much more too. There's the flats. There's the tour of Big Sky Ranch with the flats that are almost exactly to scale. Then there's going to be interiors of the sets at the convention center. And then there's all sorts of events. There's panel conversations, there's screenings, there's autograph sessions, there's vendors. Right. Modern Prairie is going to have a presence there.
Yeah. Very excited that Modern Prairie is going to be there. I think they're going to do like a cooking fashion show.
I think we're doing a fashion show. We're doing a pie eating contest, and we're judging pies, and we're judging, I think, pickles or preserves, or I don't know.
It's going to be really fun.
It's going to be a great
event. There has never been, there have been lots of celebrations for Little House, Melissa, as you know. I mean, we've been there. The show has been wonderfully celebrated through the years. There has never been anything done like what we're doing in Simi Valley in March of next year. There will never be any. I would be hard pressed to imagine that anybody would ever do anything like this again. It is a Herculean effort to bring all of these things back to life. And we're doing it because, one, it was a huge part of all of our lives, but we know from people who are buying tickets literally from all over the world and coming to Simi Valley, there are people who are just can't wait to walk on this ground and see what it was in some form as it was when we were there shooting the show. So it's going to be a really beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful.
Also, there are a lot of events that are happening after this all across the country and at the Laura homesteads and stuff. But this seems to be the one that everyone who's surviving in the cast and crew will be attending for sure.
Yes.
The rest.
I think this will be the largest gathering of cast in 30 years. And obviously, we are so sorry that there are so many of us. So many members of this cast, Michael, Victor, Catherine, Richard Bull, Kevin Hagen, Dabs Greer, and on and on and on, that will not be there. They will be in our thoughts. We are doing panels about them. We will be talking about these very special individuals and what they did. We're doing a panel specifically about Michael to talk about the genius of Michael Landon and the life that he created on that set.
Yep.
I think it's going to be very, very special.
I do too. I'm very excited about it. So on that happy, wonderful note, we look forward to seeing all of you there if you can make it, or as many of you as many of you can make it. And I gotta thank you all so much for attending today. Dean, this has just been so great and so informative and also just fun. You know, it's just fun. It's just fun to get
Christmas
together.
obsessions. Christmas obsessions. I guess that's what it is.
Obsessions. I know. We're going to send you to Christmas rehab in February, so you're ready for March.
Great.
I want to wish
Oh,
you
just
all the
so
most
much.
wonderful holiday season. And I want to thank you all so much for your support of Modern Prairie. Once again, it's just amazing to me and to Nicole, my co-founder and CEO of Modern Prairie. Your support for us has been phenomenal. We will see you on the app. We will see you on the website, and we will see you in Simi Valley in March. So everybody take care. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year coming up. Be well, stay safe, and I send you so much love.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Melissa.
you.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Merry Christmas.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you,
Thank
Dean.
y'all for the
Thank you.
Thank you. On the same
Wonderful night.
Thank you.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you. Love you.
We love y'all.
Thank you so
Merry
much.
Christmas.
Thank you,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas, Melissa.
That was so much fun. Oh my God, I want to do it again.
Little House Rocks.
Let's have a Q&A of Little House. So oh my God, I was like raising my hand.
Don't want
and
to
I kept
leave.
asking.
I want to leave.
I know.
Oh.
A great evening, everyone.
Bye.